starting my 43rd season with the Boston Symphony Orchestra. And just this morning, at the very rehearsal that I left to come to this interview, 2 new players were announced, two new percussionists, and I looked over and said, they look so bright and squeaky clean and young. And I thought to myself, back in 1970, I was one of those bright, squeaky clean new class members. In fact, in the year 1970, there were 9 people that were hired to be new members of the Boston Symphony Orchestra, and there I was, the last one, that squeaky clean bass player in the back, and now I'm the last man standing of the class of 1970. Absolutely amazing to have been here this long. It's a unique orchestra, in part because of just the quality of players, just the players that went on to higher positions within the orchestra to become concertmasters in other orchestras. There's a man next to me who's been in here far less, and every so often we play a piece that I've played maybe 50 times. Can you believe it? I've played something that many times, but I have. And the person next to me might be playing it for the first time. And I think, you know, I could go on autopilot, but I never could. Out of respect for this person next to me, I've got to play this as if it were my first time, to coincide with his first time. And so that's how my young colleagues keep me young, and how, at the same time, this young colleague sees some of the things that I've instinctively learned to do, a little pause here, a little nuance here, just the ever so small things that one does within the music that you've learned just through the years, that's what has to be done for either intonation. Oh, well, Larry, what do you do about that A flat? I say, and I'll say, you know, that particular A flat on this part of the stage, given the resultant vibration from below us, and given the sort of the funny Wolfe tone, I wish they didn't call it that, on the bass, you have to make that A flat slightly sharper in order for it to match. And he did, and it does. It's that sort of thing where we both give of our best efforts to each other, and the collective sound improves for it. And the hall, Symphony Hall, what's to say about Symphony Hall? There is a so-called Boston sound, a Boston sound of the strings that is resonant, radiant, and of course it's the quality of the players and the quality of the instruments, but it's also the quality of the hall that it resonates, the stage floor resonates, the stage walls resonate and reverberate. It gives back as well as absorbs. It's an incredible place to play, and we owe our sound in part to our magnificent hall. First of all, being a bass player in Symphony Hall means that we really do rely on the floor. So we've got these sharp end pins that are attached to our instruments, and we just jab them into the floor so that whatever we produce vibrates, causes the floor to vibrate, and of course causes the space below the floor, that resonating chamber, to vibrate as well. What we play also reaches the walls. Some of, and the back, the stage walls vibrate as they absorb some, they reflect some, they radiate some, and then of course the hall itself, that combination of plaster and leather and distance, and also surfaces that are broken up, and so there are no flat surfaces. No, really flat. No flat surfaces that will give you a splashback echo. And just the Symphony Hall space is in part why we sound the way we do, because we've adapted our playing to that magnificent hall. Some of the programs that I'm looking forward to this year, one of them is by Charles Dutoit, who's going to be conducting several pieces, one by Stravinsky and one by Ravel, Song of the Nightingale and L'Enfant et le Sortilège. Two very, very curious and very, very interesting pieces that combine singing, drama, and of course a first-class orchestra, and Dutoit, a first-class interpreter of these kinds of scores. Thomas Addis is coming in, an incredible British composer and who writes virtuoso music for the orchestra, but also is coming in to do Sibelius. And I always look forward to it. He's quite a presence on stage, and I think this is one of the concerts where he will speak to the audience, I believe so, and which is a great idea, that our artists from the stage before a concert will begin speak to the audience and personalize the event for them. It's a wonderful idea. And Stéphane Denève, a virtuoso conductor, bringing a virtuoso program in here, works of Berlioz, Saint-Saëns, Macmillan and Roussel. Roussel especially is not played enough, and it's wonderful, interesting, and evocative music. I'm looking forward to playing that. Danielle Gatti is coming in for 2 big programs, the Verdi Requiem and Mahler 3. Looking forward to that, to the sound of the great orchestra, and the great orchestra, the great hall, the great conductor, great musicians. Also Paul Hindemith. Paul Hindemith seems, for reasons unknown to anyone, not been performed all that much, and we're doing 2 pieces of Paul Hindemith. And also, I can't help but always look forward to the presence of Bernard Haitink on the stage, who gets such a sound from us, that wonderful sound. And people ask, how does Bernard Haitink get that sound? He gets that sound by inviting us to play, not insisting. And the Boston Symphony at its best, this big, rich baritone sound of breadth and style and depth. And so Bernard Haitink, especially doing Schubert Great Symphony as well as Mahler 4. I'm looking forward to the youth concert, to the family concerts conducted by Thomas Wilkins, a recent addition to the Boston Symphony family. A wonderful, wonderful conductor, a great spirit on stage, who has a very endearing thing he does. When he's, of course, every conductor has to walk on stage, stand on the podium, and bow to the audience applauding him. And the first thing he always does, he does this, pointing to the people who deserve the applause right there with him. Just an endearing and heartfelt gesture. Anyway, Thomas Wilkins is very much interested in education, of course, education and the audiences of the future, because no one likes to say that phrase, the graying of the symphony audience, but well, I should not speak of gray all that much. But the fact is, this audience is getting younger. We have marketing to thank for that. The younger audience is coming in. University students, conservatory students, the students coming in for the youth concerts. I seem to have been born to be a musician. I can't help but think about it. Basically, most waking hours, it's on my mind. Music is on my mind. I've been born to do it. I have a gift for it. I have a love of it. I teach it. I compose it, I perform it, I talk about it, and I make as many attempts as I can to educate myself, and the more I educate myself, of course, the less I know. But that's why teaching helps, because I have some wonderful students over at New England Conservatory who are so educated and so motivated that very often, for instance, my student Eddie will say, "Did you know this?" I said, "I didn't know that, thank you." And maybe I can trade back something he didn't know. And in fact, if I tell him something he doesn't know, he's off to Wikipedia, he's off to the encyclopedias, to Grove Dictionary, to everything he can get. And he comes back with even more than I told him. We do not always play music that is instantly accessible. It takes work to listen to some of our programs, and it's time well spent. But it requires an audience knowing what to listen for. There are new editions. In fact, I'm doing one not too long from now with Mark Mandel. It's the evening of October 31st, where I think he's doing a Symphony 101, is that what it's called? And where I'll be sort of the quote-unquote guest speaker there, speaking of being a soloist, of having written concerti, and being a member of an ensemble accompanying a concerto, and he wants 3 different points of view. All this is education. All of this brings in new audiences, and every new member of an audience is a hard-won entity that deserves, my gratitude to marketing, and also it deserves our best playing, which we always give.